Hi, this is Eddie Deezen. You're listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall. I was Mandark in Dexter's Laboratory. Ha 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 ha.
You are listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall on Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Hey, what's up, guys? Chris Wilde back. Or Chris Wilde. Okay, obviously I'm living in the past somewhere. Chris Stolle back with another Breaking the Fourth Wall podcast. And today I'm honored and privileged for episode 101 to sit down with actor, writer, director, producer. I might be missing a couple things. He's a father. He's a husband. He's Mr. Pat Lescarbeau. Pat, how you doing today?
Well, I'm just great. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I forgot New Year's was only a couple days ago.
It's like I haven't talked to you for since last year.
Yeah, we scheduled this interview a year ago. I mean, I'm happy we're finally getting this to happen.
That's how busy I've been.
Wow, yeah, he's a hard man to get, and he has been busy. I mean, you could look up his IMDb yourself and just see like how many films he's done and how many films he's going to do in some way, shape, or form. One of the biggest ones it does throw in here is a demo reel. Pat?
Well, my demo reel?
Yeah.
Come here. My demo reel? Yeah, I've got like 6 of those things. Which one are you talking about?
I don't know. It's the way the picture, and then next to it is just like a 2-minute and 28-second demo reel. And it looks like 7 videos, 26 images. I don't know what it's about, but it's the first time I ever saw a demo reel on an IMDb page.
yeah. I put all my demo reels on there. I'm like, I'll stick it all in one spot. That way people can just find me and find all the stuff that I've done so far that I actually want to put in a demo reel. Trust me, there's some stuff that I've done that is not on my demo reel and will never be, and hopefully no one will ever know it ever happened.
You know, I used to be a independent professional wrestler, and I feel the exact same way about some matches. In fact, there's some out there floating around the internet that I wish I could make go away because you're just not proud of them.
Oh yeah, I am. There's one that's on. I'm going to say there's one that's on a streaming platform. I'm not going to name the streaming platform. People can just go look and try and find it. And my sister happened upon it, and she's like, "What in the blue hell is this?" I was like, well, I needed some money, and it was a good payday per day of shoot, so I took the gig. She's like, this is the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. I was like, well, hopefully you're the only one who's seen it. She goes, oh no, everybody at work has seen this now.
Oh, that's the hardest part. Well, you know what? I'm gonna start with the question that I usually try to avoid the easy questions, but we'll start with the question that most people will probably ask: what got you into acting?
Okay, so what got me into acting, and this is a fairly strange and weird story. I went to Catholic school, which, by the way, I got expelled from, but that's a whole different story. So I went to Catholic school, and they were doing the story of the birth of Christ. It was our Christmas pageant,
right? And
they were doing the that story, right? So there was this really cute girl named Mary, and she was going up for the role of Mary, and I'm like, I want to be next to her, so I'm going to go for the role of Joseph. I'm going to go.
Right.
So I decided to go for the role of Joseph. I got the role of Joseph. So Mary Walsh, by the way, was her name. And if she's still out there, hi, Mary. Anyway, I don't know. I haven't met her since, but I did that, and I was the only one in the whole entire cast who actually had their whole entire lines memorized. And
oh, wow.
Everyone was like looking for lines all over the place, and I was seriously did this, and I was Joseph, and I wanted to date her, but that never happened because we were kids, and it didn't happen. And parochial school is not a real great dating pool. Let's just be realistic about that. So I did that, and I kind of got the bug there. Then the very next thing I did was for a local church that I was in. It was a story of Job. And I played Job. And Job doesn't have a lot of lines because Job basically just kind of lays on a dung heap and dies, basically. It's kind of what Job does.
Right.
But I didn't have a lot of lines. And the guy, or the kid, I should say, who was going to be playing Satan didn't show up.
Oh, no.
Didn't show up at all. Okay. Well, I knew everybody's lines. So basically I said, well, I can be Satan. She goes, well, who's going to be Job? I'm like, well, Job and Satan are never really in the same scene. So I'll just do both.
Nice.
So I basically damned myself because I was Satan and Job. And after that, everyone said, wow, you've got a real talent for this. You know, you can memorize real well. And so I just started doing little things after that, like doing church plays. And then I got to high school, and then I did musicals. I did Brigadoon was the first big thing that I was ever in.
Okay. And
I played Harry Beaton because I could do a really good Scottish accent at the time. Compared to everyone else, I guess. And I got a role in that, and then it just kind of skyrocketed from there. But I did take 13 years off to have the 6 daughters that I have.
Right.
Took 13 years off and didn't do anything. And then for the longest time, I was like, I wonder if I could still do this. And there was I didn't even realize this. Where I lived in a little place called Horseshoe Bay, Texas. Look that up. It's got a population of about 7. Anyway, so I was living in Horseshoe Bay, Texas, and I had to drive through this place called Cottonwood Shores, and they had a theater there. I drove by the place forever, never even noticed it was a theater. And I saw a big sign that said auditions. And I was like, you know what? Wonder if I still got anything left in the tank. Wonder if I can do this. So sure enough, I went in, auditioned, I got a role, and I did the next 14 shows in a row there.
Oh, wow.
Well, while I was doing those shows, and I still had never acted on film. I didn't act on film until the past 3 years.
Right.
So all those IMDb credits you'll notice are in the past 3 to 4 years.
Right.
Because I'd never done film. So a guy took over. He used to be his name is Mike Rademakers. He used to be the stand-in for John Goodman for a number of years.
Okay.
So he was the executive director at the time. He took over about the 3rd show that I did there. He took over at the Hill Country Community Theater. And he said, why haven't you ever done this professionally? I said, well, I mean, I tried when I got out of high school and I was in college, because I went to college for performing arts.
Okay.
And then decided that, well, my dad I love my dad to death, but he put the fear of God into me. He's like, well, what are you going to do for a living? I'm like, well, Dad, I'm going to act. He's like, yeah, but what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to act. Yeah, well, like, how are you going to pay bills? But I'm going to be an actor. It's like, yeah. So what about food? So I was like, you know what, maybe he's got something here. So, I did research and noticed that only 1% of any actors kind of about. And back then, I was young, so I wanted to be, a star. I wanted to be Robert De Niro. I wanted to be Al Pacino. I wanted to be,
Right.
Well, I didn't realize that there's a way to make a living without being Al Pacino and without being Robert De Niro and without being Brad Pitt and without being Harrison Ford. So I had sent off all of my headshots and resumes to everybody. Went to a Barnes & Noble, got a little book that said casting addresses for all the casting directors and agents throughout the country.
Oh, wow.
And I sent my headshot and resume to just about everybody and got nothing.
Oh.
Nothing came back. So I was like, well, maybe this isn't for me. And that's when I took my hiatus. Well, Mike said, well, you can submit on the internet now. I said, what? He's like, yeah, there are casting sites on the internet. I'm like, no, the internet's for like Amazon.com and like porn. That's the only thing the internet's for. It's like, no, there's casting sites. Sure enough, I went out on a casting site, submitted, and I've been doing film ever since. And that was 3 years ago. I've just been doing film, and then I, of course, wrote my first feature screenplay, and then so it's just kind of snowballed after that.
Well, what made you go beyond acting and start stepping into the more behind the scenes things like producing, writing, directing? I see here costume designer. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it happens on a lot of these independents, and that's where I've gotten a lot of the costume designer credit and the set coordinator credit, and this, but then a lot of independent stuff where like there's a lot of people who are, they're making something, but they don't have the talent or the time or whatnot to make something. But I have a lot of I've done a lot of things over my life. So I do woodworking. I've done metalworking. I've done costume. Well, made my own cosplay costume. So I mean, I've got all these other tools. I said, well, what do you need? And they're like, well, we need a costume that looks like this. I'm like, I probably can make that at home. I'm like, just, give me. So I put something together, and I'm like, that's exactly what we're looking for. So I got a costume designer credit there. Then somebody needed something built for a set. I'm like, well, what do you need? I'm like, I got the wood at home. I can build this. So I would build it, and I would bring it to the set, and they were like, this is exactly what. So that's kind of how I got into all that other stuff as well. The writing was weird, because I had this idea for this movie that I've had it mulling around in my brain for a while.
Okay.
And it was just sitting there, because as all writers do, an idea just sits there and sits there and sits there and sits there. And then current climate and current events and current everything kind of made me go, you know what? I should write this. Because I had this one scene in mind. And that's what I wanted to write, and I wanted to do that. I was going to do it as a short. I was just going to do this Western short. That's it.
Right.
So I wrote the middle scene. I basically wrote this like Lucas wrote Star Wars. I wrote the screenplay. I did the middle first. So I was like, okay, I did. I'm like, well, let me see if I could write what comes before this, because I want to be able to flesh this out for if people ask, what happened before. So then I wrote before. I'm like, wow, okay, well, how does this end? So in 48 hours, I wrote a 106-page screenplay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just, adding after I wrote the middle piece, it was literally a 4-page piece. That's it. It started as 4 pages. And then I went back to the beginning and hit that insert key, just kept hit the insert key and just started going. And then afterwards, I just went afterwards. And then I got done after 2 days. I was like, I have 109 page, at that point in time, 109 page screenplay. Wow. Yeah, but is this any good? Is this any good? This is the first thing I've ever written. Is this any good? I mean, everyone believes they're like a Hemingway or a Tolstoy. I'm like, well, I don't know. Let me. So I sent it out to a couple film screenplay festivals, and I won the first one that I was in. Then wow. I won the second one that I was in. Then I was a semifinalist and a winner of a specialized category in the third one I was in. Then I won the fourth one I was in. And I was like, okay. Well, maybe this has got some legs. Maybe. So I sent it off to a couple friends because I just shot a bunch of westerns that summer. This is last summer.
Okay.
And I sent it off to a couple of my friends who I shot westerns with, and they're like, "This is a damn good script. This is a really good script." Especially with what's going on now, because I'm not giving enough of it away, but there's a lot of tension and angst, and there's a lot of racism and anti-racism and whatnot in my script.
Right.
So they said, this is the perfect time to make this. With everything that's going on right now, this is perfect. It's the perfect time to make it. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, but how am I going to make it? So I got one person that said, like, well, this is what you do. You go do this, and you go make an IndieGoGo, and you do that, and you get your production crew in place first and whatnot. So I did. I went and got a production crew in place. So basically what I did is I pulled on every marker that I've ever had. Because doing a lot of independent stuff, like I said, I did that chief cook and bottle washer stuff for everybody and whatnot, and I did some stuff for free and whatnot, and then finally I was like, all right, time to pay up.
Right.
So I called a bunch of those people. I called the DP that I had done a couple free things for, and I said, hey, guess what? I need a DP. He's like, well, my normal rate is. I'm like, yep, I know what your normal rate is. Remember when I did those 3 shoots for you for nothing? Well, guess what? You're going to give me a much lower rate.
Oh.
He's like, you know what? You're right. I'm like, okay, cool. Then the sound guy, he's like, yeah, here's my daily rate. Yeah, I know what your daily rate is. But remember when I was on that shoot with you and you needed sound help and I helped you with that? Here's the rate you're going to give me. So I started calling in a lot of those favors. And I basically figured out we can do this. And I sat down, I crunched all the numbers. Like, I can actually do this whole entire film for $60,000.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow. Okay, this is with period costumes. This is with everything to the letter. Right, I've got Native American people who are part of the Native American Talent Coalition. They're on board as advisors. I've got 2 historians of both the northern side of the war and the southern side of the war, and in Reconstruction era, because this takes place during Reconstruction.
Right.
I got these guys, and they were like, yeah. Well, I'm like, well, we won't charge you anything. We'll just give you our advice and tell you what to do. We'll read through the script and tell you where it's right and tell you where it's wrong. I was like, great. So I've got that on. We've got actual cavalry attire for Reconstruction cavalry people. And I got that at like a great rate because it was a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy. So I was like, we don't need $1 million budget.
Right.
We just need $60,000. I'm like, well, I can get $60,000. I should be able to I have 3,000 followers on Facebook, which is funny because you realize how many followers you don't have on Facebook for real when you start an IndieGoGo campaign.
Yeah.
Because we have 28 backers. Now, granted, we've got $8,000 from the 28 backers that we have in 24 hours, which was great. But we need to get to 60. So people are chipping in, and I'm telling people, like, and it's true. You can give me $5. Home runs are great. If someone wants to give me $60,000, I'll take it. But I'll take singles all day long. You take, I'm like a stripper at this point in time. I'll take singles all day long. I don't care. So that's kind of where we're focusing at now because, like I said, we're 14% the budget with 1 day. We've got 29 days left of the campaign. But, I mean, it started off really well. Today, like I said, is the second, so it's kind of gotten a little bit slower. But it should pick up as we go on and things like that. So we had our casting call, and it went well. And we're about to start announcing our cast as well. So hopefully that'll start bringing in some stuff. So it was crazy. It's scary as hell, though. I'll tell you that right now.
I'd like to take this opportunity to announce that I have been casted in the movie. I play the main whore. No, but the movie we are talking about is Chance and Circumstances. Am I correct?
Yes, Chance and Circumstance. Yep.
All right. So you kind of gave a little bit of what it's about and all that. Is this a particular type of film that you prefer doing, like westerns, like period westerns?
Man, I just love the West. I'm a Northerner, and that's actually part of the funny thing. Is like basically the log line. I'll give you the log line of the movie. The log line is two ex-West Point graduates who fought on separate sides of the Civil War reconnect after the Civil War, but they're going to have to fight something from their past if they're ever going to have any kind of future. So that's the log line. And I'm a Northerner, but my grandfather loved westerns. Westerns. Louis L'Amour, John Wayne, Jimmy Stewart, like all the classics stuff. The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, The Shootist, Rio Grande, all that. He would watch that all the time. He was a Northerner too, but he just loved the West.
Right.
And I can remember sitting down Saturdays with my grandfather and just watching Western after Western after Western after Western, and it just reminded me of a time that I really enjoyed. Spending time with my grandfather. Now he's passed he passed many years ago, but I thought, you know what? I don't think all of the stories from the West have been told because we always get the good guy and the bad guy and showdown at high noon and that. Well, there's way more stories than that are out there. Way more stories.
Well, one of the things that seems attractive to me is that you're incorporating not only the aftermath of the Civil War, but you're also not following the mainstays of Western culture, your Doc Hollidays and your Wyatt Earps or your Billy the Kids. You're actually taking a look at people that probably aren't in history book, and telling their story. And I think that's something that's exceptional to it. I think that's something that's missing in the Western genre. Because I love Westerns too, but 9 times out of 10, I pick up a Western movie, it's Tombstone or Wyatt Earp, or The Unforgiven. And it's as great as they are, they've been done.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about this is it's set in a Western backdrop, but it's making the great thing about, I think, my plane, I think why it's captured everyone's imagination and why it won so many is because it takes what's kind of going on today and it takes life as a whole, but just sets it in the West. And it kind of shows you how, we've come a long way, but we really haven't come that awful damn far. We really haven't. and that's what this is about. It's just about interactions. It's just about human interactions and how people's lives can change in 2 seconds. And how, even though their lives can change in 2 seconds, when everything's said and done and everything gets back to normal, some people are fine with that. We're back to normal. Everything's great. Like the main characters, like I said, you've got two that fought on opposite sides of the Civil War. No, but after the Civil War's over, they're like, you know what? It's water under the bridge. Done. Over with. You fought on your side. I fought on my side. We lost. Okay. You know, and that's the thing. You know, that's the thing, is that there were families that did that. That, you know, there were families whose brothers fought against brother, and after it was over, guess what? It's over. We're done.
Right.
You know, and it was never talked about again. It was a war. It happened. We're all home. We're all alive. All our fingers are in one place. All our toes are. We're good. You know, everything's good. You know, but what we normally see in the Western is the angry Southerner and the angry Northerner, and they're angry at each other, and they're angsty about this, and they're angsty towards each other about that. And this ain't that. You know, this is about people trying to live a normal life after all that's happened and trying to pick up their pieces. And then realizing that even though you pick up your pieces, there's always your past is always going to kind of come back to you. So basically their past kind of comes back, you know, and threatens their future, and they have to try and figure out a way around that. And I think we all have that happen to us.
Well, see,
all of us.
That's something that's
we all have a past.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we all have a past, and people try to avoid it. But you know what? When you just confront it, take care of it, things normally go much better for you.
Well, see, that's some of the things that's running through my head thinking about this film. It's like, you know, number one, I think especially like in real life, you know, a lot of people, if they even studied the Civil War, because I had an uncle who was a Civil War reenactor. So, yeah. You know, I'm kind of he actually played an extra in the film Gettysburg.
Oh, nice.
Unfortunately he's passed away a couple years ago, but yeah, he was a Civil War reenactor, and he was a war buff. He collected things from all the history, wars of history and all. But a lot of what I'm thinking about is like a lot of people really don't realize that there is an aftermath to war. It's never really looked into historically, film-wise. It's always, you know, okay, the Civil War happened, then the proclamation of, you know, and then it was over, and everybody did whatever they did. Yep. Yeah, and the United States was just the United States again. You don't really know the story of the afterwards, you know, and so that's definitely interesting. But the question I was going to ask is, with touching on a lot of things that are handled today, and of course dealing with two military soldiers who fought on opposite ends of the war, are we going to see a little bit of PTSD? As a matter of fact, there is a little bit of that. There is a scene that, and that's actually where all of this. That's where the movie started. That's when the movie started. The movie started actually with two basically veterans sitting down talking about what happened. You know, that's where the movie started for me. Okay. And I wrote that scene. You know, it's just two guys, two war veterans who, again, fought on opposite sides, and they're just talking about their experiences from their opposite sides of the war and how it's affected them, or how they've refused to let it affect them. You know, because even though they refuse to maybe take on, it's affected them. It's affected them at such a deep level that, like, one of them was like, well, we were always right. And one of them is not that we were wrong, but like, I get it now. You know, right. I get it. I totally get it now. I get where you guys were coming from. He's like, I get where you guys were coming from. I totally get it now. You know, so, and that's where the whole movie started. It started basically with a PTSD talk. Okay. about how, you know, how do we get past this? How do we get beyond this? How do we make sure that, you know, we integrate ourselves into the world as a whole that has now dramatically changed while we were, you know, basically shooting at each other? How do we do that? Which speaks volumes to modern day veterans reassociating back into society after, you know, being overseas, tours of duty and everything else. And a lot of them, do wind up, you know, not knowing how to reincorporate. I think that's going to touch base. I'm excited. I want to see this now. The two things I definitely got to bring in is, number one, I've got to bring in the fact that you are doing an IndieGoGo, and down in the description of this video or this audio podcast will be a link to that IndieGoGo. please, guys, $1, $5, $500, $5,000, $50,000, whatever you could pitch towards, whatever you could pitch towards to help get this movie out, and when it releases, how is it going to release? Like how will people, especially the people that donate, be able to see this film?
Yeah, great. So that's a good question. So the way it's going to go right now is, even on our IndieGoGo, we've got like perks that are available for folks. Okay. So like at the $5 level, I will go online. I've already done it for like 20 people already. I will go online and shout out your name to the heavens. And if you got a business you want to shill, I'll shill your business while I'm giving you a shout out, because I have a YouTube channel that's got about 10,000 subscribers. I've got my own Facebook that has 3,000 people who look at it, and then we've got the Chance and Circumstance film group that's got about 800 people on it right now, but it's growing like every day right now because of all the buzz that's happening.
Right.
So for $5, I'll shill whatever you want. You've got shoe polish, I'll put it on my boots and show people how well it works. I don't care. So that's my $5 donation, and for $1, I'll even do a shout out for $1. I don't care. So then there's then it's $20. $20 gets you a copy of the script signed and by all the principal cast that was used on set.
Okay.
$100 gets you a signed movie poster by all of the principal cast that you can frame, the 24 by 36.
Okay.
$500 gets you a set used prop, and I'll give you my gun belt. I don't care because I own it. I'll give it away. It doesn't matter to me.
Nice.
So you will get a set used prop from either a gun belt, a deck of cards. There's other things I can't mention because those are spoilers. I don't want to mention any spoilers.
No spoilers.
But yeah, there'll be some really cool stuff there too. For $1,000, you get a producer credit. For $3,000, I will pay for you to stay at a hotel near where we're filming, and you will come on set and be a featured extra with the principal cast. And even if it doesn't make the cut, you will get that reel footage for yourself, so you can say, "Look, I was on set. I was on this set."
Nice.
And you will also get everything else. So it's cumulative. You give the $3,000. You get everything. You get the movie poster, everything. So when we actually get it done filmed, we are going to have a premiere here at the Alamo Drafthouse.
Okay.
In Austin. Then we are going to try, because we're filming in Texas and Oklahoma, right, and I have a friend who's got a place in Oklahoma. We are actually going to have a premiere there as well. Then after those premieres go on, we are going to get it on. If we can't get distribution, we're going to DVD it and send it out to everybody who's donated. If we don't get distribution, but I have a couple of distribution channels that are very, very interested, but they want to see it. They want it done right. before they say anything. So it may be in theaters, but at the very least, I myself will pay to put it on Amazon, and it will be on Amazon, and people can see it there.
Now, do you intend to take it also out into the film festivals? I mean, for lack of a better term, it is still an indie film. You intending on Cannes and Sundance festivals and all?
Yep, I'm going to submit it to Cannes. I'm going to submit it to Sundance. I'm going to submit it to South by Southwest. Those are my three big ones that I'm going to submit it to, and then I'm going to submit it to everybody that I've already submitted just the script to. I'm going to submit the feature film to them as well.
I think this one could take off for you. Just off the little that I know about it, having a conversation with you today. And, I'm not saying that because I'm the interviewer talking. I'm saying it as a film goer, and this is something I would want to go see. I think
and that's what we strived to do. We really strived to make this something that, like I said, it wasn't the tropes. We weren't pulling out all the tropes. We were doing just a human story in a backdrop. Because I just love the West. I
think it's going to be nice that it sound, and I could be completely wrong here, and stop me if I'm wrong here, but it sounds like it's more of a human drama set in the backdrop of the Old West than what a typical Western is, which is the showdown at the OK Corral, or riding off into the sunset, and gunfights every 10 minutes in the street, or bar fight in the tavern or something like that, like your typical spaghetti westerns.
Yeah.
So that's
it
really
is completely different. And the funny thing is you mentioned spaghetti westerns. it is going to be filmed in that vein. I wanted that Sergio Leone look to it,
Right.
but I wanted it to be a completely different Western. So I'm using the same tactics, the same framings, the same close-ups and sweeping shots. I'm using the same shots, but I'm telling a different story. I'm telling the story a different way. I'm telling a story about human interaction between basically a set of 4 people.
Okay.
So there's 4 people that are really, really integral to the plot, and then there's, of course, the 5th person, which is the antagonist. And I mean, he's integral, but you don't know much about that person until like toward the end.
Right.
And that's the whole thing. It's like, it's about all of these human interactions. It's about people just interacting and people looking at things from their point of view and trying to see things from everyone else's point of view. And then there's the problem. And the problem has to be resolved. And now you've got all these people with different backgrounds and different ideas that all go, okay, well, how are we going to take care of this? And again, are there gunfights? Of course there are. It's the West.
Right.
But I agree with you 100%. Every single one of my gunfights, there is a reason there's a gunfight. It's not just this flash leather, and pull steel and shoot. Every time a weapon, and that was a big thing I wanted to make sure, every time a weapon is shot in this, there is something behind that.
Right.
It's not just I got to kill this guy. It's, well, what are my options? And what is this bullet statement making? And that's exactly what I did with every single gun shot basically that's in here.
Well, see, that makes sense to me. Even the bad guy has a reason. It's not just because he's twirling his mustache, waiting for the train to come, But
no, I mean, and that's the thing. And normally I play the bad guys. This time I'm playing a good guy in this because I wrote it for myself. So I'm going to play a good guy. So for once, but and this is what a lot of people don't do. And I mean, I try to do this a lot because I normally play the bad guy. The bad guy's coming from a different place. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying he's good. I'm saying he's misunderstood and he's mistaken.
Right.
But he believes what he believes for a reason. As much as people hate to hear that, these people who everyone considers bad people, there's a reason they believe that.
Right.
Our job is to figure out why. And that's the thing with even the bad folk in this is there's a reason they think that way.
Right.
And we've got to delve into that to try and, to figure it out.
And again, I think that's something that's really refreshing because, I mean, not to throw real world implementations into fantasy here, but I mean, not everybody's born Adolf Hitler. But for some reason, we all think that anybody who's on the opposite end of morality that we are, usually we figure they're just like him, his mentality or something. And he's not, or they're not. 9 times out of 10, there's still people who have mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, wives, husbands. Just because they think a little differently doesn't mean they're necessarily bad. They may be wrong or misinformed, but not necessarily bad.
Exactly. And then again, to ever change that way of thinking, to ever change anyone's way of thinking, you've got to understand where they're coming from. You have to. If you just think about this, if you just try and take a square peg and fit it into a round hole, well, yeah, sooner or later you'll chafe off the sides of it and it'll fit in there. Okay. Right. But did it really fit or did it just go through? It just went through.
Right.
Okay. And that's the difference. Like right now, I mean, and this is why we're making it now. If you look at it now, you've got the left and you've got the right who are just arguing and yelling and screaming at each other on a routine basis. You're evil, you're snowflake, you're this, you're that. None of them are sitting down and going like, well, why do you think that way?
Right.
Well, what has led you to think this way and to think that that's the only way? And then to take it apart and go, okay, well, I see what you're saying, but do you realize this? Well, no, I didn't realize that. Well, are you sure about that? And again, that's where change occurs. That's where all change occurs. When you can actually sit down across with somebody and go, look, I get what you're saying, but have you ever thought of trying this? Well, no, I never have. Oh, well, why don't we give that a try and see what happens? Okay. instead of being entrenched in, nope, my side said that this is the way it's got to be. Okay. What does that mean, that your side said this is the way it's got to be? What facts do they have? Well, I don't know, but they said that this is the way it's got to be. Okay, that doesn't work for me. It totally doesn't work for me. So let's sit down and have a conversation of why they think that. Because maybe I'm wrong. Right. Maybe I'm 100% wrong. Help me understand why I'm wrong then. And nobody today is willing to sit down and do that. And that's what this movie is trying to coalesce, is like, let's sit down and let's talk about why.
I think it's a novel idea, and I hope people who see the film not only enjoy the film, but I hope they get that message. I really do. Yeah. But
and that, like I said, that's why we've decided to do it now, because of the climate, because of everything and whatnot. And I think that's probably why I ended up writing it as fast as I did. It's because, I saw what was kind of going on, and I saw it, and I was like, wow, because I've got family members who are on the opposite side of where I am, and we can actually sit down and talk, but I know people who just look at them and call them a name because they said something somewhere on Facebook or they posted something or whatnot, and they don't know the story behind the person.
You know what?
And that's what this is about.
Again, not to get too personal or whatever, but I know you're a friend on Facebook, and you've probably seen wall posts from me.
Yep.
To guess straight out that I call myself right of center, and
yep.
Quite honestly, I mostly post what I post to piss people off who were just radicalized. You know what I mean? I don't do it because I believe in it. Actually, I sit there and laugh at it 9 times out of 10 just to watch people's responses to it.
Yeah, and the funny thing is people have failed the ability to take some things with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. Like, he's just being a joker. He's just doing something funny. No, now it's like, oh no, that's completely wrong. I've got to tell him how wrong he is. Well, before the internet occurred, okay, I could be wrong at home and nobody fucking told me how wrong I don't know if I can swear. Nobody told me how wrong I was. Okay, nobody told me how wrong I was. I could be as wrong as I wanted to, and I didn't have 90 people telling me you're wrong.
Right.
Okay. And not instead of just saying you're wrong. Again, here we go back to, why do you think that way?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because and see, and you would say you're center right. I'm center left. Okay, I 100% believe in Second Amendment rights. You should be able to have a gun. I don't care.
Well, it's kind of we need. Kind of standard in Texas, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you get one like whenever you buy like a Big Gulp. I think, but I've passed up on mine for the past like 3 years because I already have one. But I think you should be able to own a handgun. Now, I mean, and then like I said, you've got people who are so far out there, like, and then they're like, well, why I want to own a rocket launcher. Okay, well let's talk for a minute here. Really, a rocket launcher? What deer are you hunting?
Right.
You're hunting some really big badass deer out there who's got a human call? I don't think you are. So I don't think you need a rocket launcher. I'm not going to say you don't or you do. I'm going to leave it up to the government. Okay. But a lot of those Second Amendment, the way right Second Amendment people are like, well, they can come pry it out of my cold dead hands. Trust me, if the government wants your guns, they're going to come pry it out of your cold dead hands. They don't need an invitation. They're going to come do it anyway because they've got tanks and they've got all this stuff. I'm sorry, but your AR-15 is really not going to help you. It's just not going to. If the government really wants to get those weapons, guess what? It's going to happen.
Well,
our job is to vote.
I would argue that one or two things would occur. The way you say it, yes, the government will just steamroll through, and there's nothing we're going to be able to do about it, or it will incite a reason to create a sequel for this, for Chance and Circumstance.
yeah. And I mean, and that's the whole thing. Yeah, it's like, okay, well then now what? Okay, so now we've got a different kind of a war going on in our country. Not a war of words. Now we've got a war against the government against the people. That could happen. It's happening. I don't think it will. I think that the framers were smart enough to put a bunch of stuff in good enough way that we could, again, sit down. Like, here's a case in point: Madison and Hamilton hated each other. They despised each other, but they could have a conversation. They could sit down and talk. They could talk about why an article of impeachment is not a proper article of impeachment and why it is a proper article of impeachment, or what we should do about that. They could sit down and talk about how, and Thomas Jefferson said it best, I have never found a difference in political ideology to be a reason to lose a friend. And we've lost that as a country. We've lost it.
Yes, we have.
We've completely lost it. Okay? And remember, Jefferson was a slave owner. Okay? So his hands weren't clean either. Okay? But that's a really good point. Why, just because someone thinks differently from me, should they not be my friend?
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, we should embrace those people who think differently than us, because when you surround yourself just by the people that believe the way you do, you isolate yourself.
Becomes an echo
And when you
chamber.
isolate yourself, you radicalize yourself. And when you radicalize yourself, then there's nothing else but what you think.
And nothing ever gets repaired. So
nothing gets repaired, nothing gets fixed, nothing gets done.
now I did make a joke about this, about the or a war could come on and you'll have a reason to create a sequel. In this world of franchises, let's call it, universes. I mean, three examples that of course come to mind first and foremost is Star Wars, Marvel, and DC.
Yeah.
Any chance you may revisit Chance and Circumstance? Maybe start taking a look at some other
I definitely would probably
people's...
revisit the characters, because at the end of the film was at the end of the story. And normally it never is. I mean, normally the end of any film isn't unless everybody dies. I mean, then it's the end of the film.
Right.
And then it's the end of the story. But these characters have more to say. And if this is received well, yeah, I could see a sequel to this.
Maybe visiting
Circumstances
some other...
revisited.
visit some other soldiers or God forbid, like slave owners and now freed slaves, or many different stories in that time frame could probably come out of this.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the other thing, is that even in a lot of these, I mean, franchises and whatnot, and I thought about this on some, is it doesn't have to be even about these characters. It could be about the people that these characters' lives touch.
Right.
So basically, I guess you would call it a spin-off. If that's what you wanted to call it. You would call it a spin-off.
Sure.
But yeah, because there are more stories in the South to be told than what we've been told. That's the big thing. Is that, and the more I read about the South, the more there's more there than just what we've been shown.
Absolutely. Now, of course, the big question, probably the final question I could ask, besides where can people find you? The question is, you get Chance and Circumstances made. Everybody after listening to you on Breaking the Fourth Wall is just opening their wallet and absolutely, donating in. You've got more money than you need to make this movie happen. This movie is now out and produced and going. What's next?
What's next? What's next for me is going to be probably, I'm going to take a break for probably a month after we get wrapped and everything's actually in the can and done. And then I'm back to acting for a while until these characters or this world talks to me again. And then I'll be right back at it. I'll be right back at writing something and producing it and taking all the people that have been in this and lifting them up to the next level as well. That's the next thing, is that I just want to continue to do what I love to do, what I've been blessed to be able to do, because I didn't for the longest time. I remember it was that 13 years in between where I didn't do anything.
Right.
I was a corporate shill and I hated it. So that's what's next for me, is enjoying being able to do what I do, and basically, I mean, not working a day in my life because I'm doing what I love. That's what's next for me. And like I said, if Chance and Circumstance takes off, I just wait for that world to talk to me again and go, hey, hello, remember me? Here's another story. And then away it'll go.
Well, I'll remind any independent filmmaker at all times. I will always remind them of one little independent film named Star Wars.
Yeah.
It can happen. George wanted to be independent of the Hollywood film scene, and he created one of the biggest films of all time, a franchise to this day that still goes on. So it can happen. You never know.
The very funny story that I've read about Star Wars, because Star Wars is one of my favorites. I do Han Solo cosplay. When I was talking about cosplay, I'm normally Han Solo. That's the cosplay I always do.
Nice.
Harrison Ford is walking down, because one of the earliest shots, I guess, that they did was the ballroom scene, or not the ballroom, the ceremony. The big ceremony at the end.
Right.
Of course, remember, people who don't make movies, they don't see how the sausage is made, believe that they shoot it in order. Guess what? I hate to break it for you, but they don't.
Right.
So, so they shot that first, and I guess it was Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill are walking down with Peter Mayhew, because it's the three walking down there, and Harrison Ford tells a story about how he can hear these people just laughing and giggling, the whole entire time. And he finally picked up on what they were saying. They're like, what a crock this thing is going to be. It's going to be the biggest freaking piece of crap on the face. There's a walking rug. Do you see that? There's a walking rug going. Who's going to watch this? And of course they're doing it in the English accent. It's like, who's going to watch this? This is insane. Why is a large chihuahua walking down the middle of the, so, and Harrison Ford was like, what have I done? Have I screwed myself over? Is this the end? and by the way, Harrison Ford, only person whose career wasn't ruined by Star Wars.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah, so no, it's not. So stop listening to the people around you who are naysayers and go like, that's dumb, or that's stupid, or that's dumb. Listen to the people who support you and go, okay, let's do it, but maybe not do it that way. And that's why I have a really good executive producer. It's a guy by the name of Dean Christensen. I met him on one of the shoots that I was on, and he agreed to be the executive producer, because I know that I can overdo something. I can say like, well, we need all this, and we need 75 horses, and we need like 44 cavalrymen, and he's like, we don't have money for that. This is not going to happen. So, okay, so what can we do, Dean? And that's what you surround yourself with people, have a great vision, and have people go like, okay, that's good. I like where you're going, but we don't have the money for that. So here's what we can do. How can we make this work? And then make it work.
Right. That's
the big thing for independent filmmakers, is take what you've got and make the best of what you can with what's given to you. And that's the thing. Like, we've got, like I said, $8,000 in right now. If it stops today, well, it stops today. And then my feature doesn't become a feature. It becomes a much shorter film. It becomes a much shorter film, because this is the first time, because this happens in Texas a lot. There is nobody on my set not getting paid. I am tired. I am so tired of people not paying people and doing feature after feature after feature. And I don't know if this happens in other parts of the country, but I can tell you in Texas, because it's not a union state and I'm not a big union person, but I am a person who believes in giving people their due.
Right.
I'm talking about not even getting gas money, okay, to come and make a feature film for somebody. That's BS. Okay, I'm done with that. So everyone on my film is getting paid, and that's why I need the $60,000, because I want to pay everybody, even if it's only $40 for my background or whatnot, or everyone is getting something.
Right.
And because I'm not going to make a free film. What I'm doing is, like I said, I am trading on what I've done for free to get this done at a lower rate.
Right.
I don't want my people on my film to ever have to do that. I want them to be able to go like, hey, first film I was in, I was getting paid.
That would be nice. Again, speaking from an independent professional wrestler standpoint, I spent 20 years in the wrestling industry. I could tell you a greater part of 2 years of it, I never saw a dime.
Yep.
Whether it was because of shiesty promoters or just you agreed to do it for free because the crowd was low or whatever, what have you. I know exactly what you're talking about. You put your blood, sweat, and tears in and have nothing to show for it.
Exactly. And that's why, like I said, for this, and I've even done some things like I do a lot of stuff for the students, because I live not far from UT, and UT has a great RTF program, radio, television, and film program. And I'll do some scenes for those kids every once in a while, just because I'm like, hey, you know what? They could be the next director. They could be the next Martin Scorsese. They could be the next George Lucas. So you know what? I'll throw them a bone and do like a class reenactment of a scene from a movie, for them. Not a problem. Like this past year, for some reason, I got like every single Javier Bardem role that was ever made. I guess I did in their classes this year. So I did like No Country for Old Men. I did Skyfall. I did like and they were like, oh, that's a Javier Bardem guy. I'm like, I don't even look some kind of Spanish. I'm not even close. But I did it for them. But now those guys, like I said, when they, yeah, I'm paying it forward. But the thing is, and I know you know as well, I cannot pay my rent with exposure.
Right.
You know, if my mortgage company took exposure, my house is paid. My house is paid off.
Excuse
okay.
me while I whip this out.
Yeah, excuse me. Well, hit crowd. Anyway, so I mean, and for you, and I have a friend actually who did wrestling. I don't know if you know who Chaz Taylor is, but Chaz Taylor is a friend of mine. He's Tugboat Taylor's son, I believe.
Okay. I don't know him personally, but I know the name. Yeah.
Yeah, so he did wrestling for a while too, and he does some stunts and stuff and whatnot too, and he told me stories about that too, where, you know, I'm like, dude, how did you do that? He goes like, I don't know. To this day, I don't know how I made it through. Got no clue. No clue how I worked for like 3 months, 6 months, and never made a dime off of stuff. I got no idea.
Mm-hmm.
No clue. You know, I'm not going to run my set that way, and I'm not going to treat my actors that way. I want my actors, my background, my DPs. Yes, are they giving me a lower rate? They are, but they are getting paid.
Right.
They are getting paid. You know, I am not having anyone come to my set for free. You're stepping foot on my set. You're getting paid.
And that is something to absolutely respect, especially because of the fact, like you said, in the film industry in general, whether off the independent circuit, you know, of it, or the independent circuit of filming, it does happen more often than not, where it's you know, you're lucky if you get a sandwich. Yeah,
pizza. Yeah, I love that one. You know, show up to a set, they're like, "Oh, food will be included." Pizza. Yeah, I could have ate this at home, man. I didn't need to come to a set and memorize 9 pages of dialogue so I could eat pizza. I could do that at home. You know, so that's the big thing that I took from my experience. And again, it's about sending the elevator back down. Like, I've been able, and like I said, I've been blessed to be able to make enough money to make ends meet. And I have a very supportive support system behind me that, you know, will pick me up if I fall down. So I have that as a luxury. And I know that there are a lot of people on these sets who are trying to make it and trying to break in that don't. So if they're coming out to your set, because they're like, I want to make, this is a stepping stone for me. Well, if it's a stepping stone for you, I'm going to give you some money. It's really that simple. It's not just going to be a stone. It's going to be a stone with some money.
Right.
You know, so that they will send the elevator back down when they get to where I am. When they get to where I'm at, they'll be like, you know what? I remember being on Patrick Lescarbeau's set for Chance of Circumstance, and it wasn't a lot of money, but he made sure that everybody got paid. I'm going to do that. And that's how we raise everything up. And
that is an honorable thing to do. And again, like you said, it exactly is that. In wrestling, we called it paving the way. What you did,
yep.
What you do, it should honor those that came before you, but also set example for those after you. And so,
yes,
absolutely, that is absolutely something I full-heartedly respect. Yeah.
So that was the big thing. That's why the IndieGoGo, because I could have put this together and had a bunch of people just do everything for free for me. I could have done that. I could have easily done that. I could have just emptied my bank account and done it. I mean, I've close to emptied my bank account just to get this thing into pre-production. But I mean, I could have done that very easily and just said, yeah, if you want to be in a film, come on down. I'm not doing that. I refuse because I've seen too many people get taken advantage of, especially, again, in Texas. There are a lot of people, and they know who they are out there. If they hear this podcast, you know exactly who the F you are, okay, who have been doing feature after feature after feature and not even paying people gas money. Dude, if you don't have gas money for people on your set, you don't have money to make a film.
Right.
Stop.
I can't argue with that. I can't even play off of that because it's the God's honest truth. You know, people deserve something for their labor, their time, their services, and
yep.
Even if it's $5, it's something. You know, and it's just a show of good faith. But Pat, we are reaching time, so I definitely want to have you back on. Again, down in the description below will be the link to the IndieGoGo to be able to help get Chance and Circumstances completed. so that way we can all see this film and make sure these actors and actresses and all the behind-the-scenes people do get their due.
Yes.
And
yes.
Of course, is there anywhere else people can contact you or see more information?
Yes, they can either go to the IndieGoGo site. There's going to be updates on that frequently. There is a Facebook page called if you put in @Chance and Circumstance Film, that's our main page. And if you want, I can actually, if you ask to be invited to the Chance and Circumstance fan group, there is one there as well. Everybody who donates will be allowed into the Chance and Circumstance fan group, so you'll see updates from us as we go on there. We have updates on the Chance and Circumstance Facebook group, but on the fan page, you'll get more backroom stuff. You'll see how the sausage is made. So yeah, you'll get a lot of that, like as props come on and as costumes get done and costume shooting gets done and all that stuff, you'll start seeing some of that, and just in the fan group, because that's normally from people who have donated to actually trying to make this film what it is.
Excellent. And, of course, guys, for Realm of the Mist Entertainment, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, share, comment, subscribe. Check out all the other great podcasts of Realm of the Mist Entertainment. And, of course, jump over to our sister channel, Sounds Dicey Gaming, for all your tabletop RPG needs, as well as video game Let's Plays. And, of course, if you prefer the audio format of these podcasts, you can find those on just look up Realm of the Mist Entertainment on Anchor.fm, Apple iTunes, or wherever quality podcasts can be heard. Again, Mr. Lescarbeau, this has been an absolute pleasure. I wish you all the best, and I will have you back on. The next time I have you on, I want you telling me that you just rapped.
You got it. As soon as we wrap, I'll let you know.
Absolutely. And again, guys, I will say it one more time. In the description down below, $1 will do.
It will. Every dollar helps.
Thank you very much for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next Breaking the Fourth Wall.